I'm Cal, the host of Aligned, and I'm so excited you're here. Let me ask you this. Are you ready to stop following someone else's strategy and start building a business that aligns with your vision? As a 2-4 cycle generator and business coach, I know the power of aligning your actions with your unique design. On this podcast, we'll dive into business strategies, human design, and have conversations with awesome women who are doing business their own way. I'm here to show you how to build a business that gives you the life you truly desire. Let's get started and have some fun. Welcome to the first episode of Aligned for 2025. If you are only listening to this, that is absolutely perfect. If you are watching this, I apologize in advance. I am hot, sweaty. My face looks like a beetroot. I am just back from a late morning 5-kilometer run. Probably not my smartest decision. Running on the Gold Coast in January is far better done at probably 5:30 in the morning, not at 11 a.m. However, it is done. And my commitment this year for the Aligned podcast is to do it more in alignment with my human design. As a generator, I am here. My strategy is to respond. And so rather than committing to a weekly podcast because I think that is the way it should be done, I'm changing things up with Aligned and making this podcast more of a in-the-moment response to things that I want to speak into. And so here I am, first episode for 2025. Probably could have had a shower, probably could have thought a little bit more about this episode, but wanted to stay true to my commitment and speak into something that I am seeing and hearing a lot at the moment and has been sparked directly from a podcast that I was listening to in the walking component of my 5-kilometer run. So I always run and allow myself at least, a couple of 100 meters of walking before I get home. I'm an Air Punch Spotify playlist girl when I run, but I do like to pop on a podcast when I'm walking. And the podcast really sparked something in me, and I'm not sure where I've actually landed, but it is this concept now of business leaders, particularly leaders in business that have been around for 5, 10, 15 years. I myself are ticking over 20 years in business this year, which, might I add, is completely wild that I'm entering my 20th year in business. But what I just heard on a podcast and what I do see and hear a lot in the business world is this concept of people not wanting to show up on social media all of the time. They are feeling like there is a misalignment with them and they want to do business more on their own terms and what feels good to them. Now, that element I 1000% agree with. And I believe that the more that we understand ourselves, for me, the more that you can really lean into your human design will support you in knowing what decisions and what way you want to do business is best for you. So that I agree with. However, the underlying tone that I feel is being pushed out there at the moment is that it's not necessary and it's not required. However, if these people have been in business for 5 years, 10 years or longer, what did they do in the beginning? If these people have 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 followers on their social media accounts, then that is a very different position than someone in the early stages of business trying to build themselves as an expert in their industry, trying to build themselves a brand, trying to build themselves a following, I don't believe you can take the same advice. And as I said, I'm not sure where I actually land in this. I agree with definitely doing business and marketing yourself and using social media in a way that feels authentic and good for you. But on the other hand, if you are someone that has maybe changed your niche, if you've changed direction, if you're launching something new, leaning into the advice of going with the flow and, showing up when you feel called to, I just don't believe is going to work. And that's what came up from listening to this podcast. Now, that is absolutely their truth, and that is absolutely what they are going to follow. But when I look at many of the people that are sharing this information, they are the people that have been in business for a decade. They are the people that have 16,000 followers on Instagram, 18,000 followers on Instagram, even 10,000 followers on Instagram. If you are, as I said, changing niche, launching something new, just at the beginning stages of building your business, and you have 168 followers, showing up when you choose to, whenever you feel aligned, I just don't believe is going to be what it takes for you to make it. And I guess what I would love the mentors and the coaches that have been in business for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years to share, what did they do in the beginning? Like, how did they build their brand? How did they build such a big following that then allows them now to make the decision to show up on social media when they choose? Now, I'm not saying show up on social media 6 times a day because some social media expert tells you to do that. I'm still saying find a way that is authentic to you. Find the way that aligns most with you. However, the other side of that coin for me is that when you're starting out, when you're in that first 3, 4, 5 years of business, you're going to have to do things that you don't necessarily want to do. There are things that you build yourself towards to then have the choice if that's how you want to continue to do it. And so, as I said, my commitment for the Aligned podcast in 2025 is not to do a weekly episode, but to jump on in the moment, in response, which is my strategy as a generator, and speak into things that I feel need a voice. And maybe this episode isn't for the people that have been in business like myself for 2 decades. Maybe it is for you if it is that you're starting out or you're thinking about getting started. Take the advice that you hear and process it for yourself for what it really is. Because if people with large followings that have a really strong personal brand, that have had a lot of visibility and a lot of exposure for a lot of time, probably have earned the right to show up when they choose. They probably have a big, beautiful email list that they may email once a week and get great response from their community. But if you don't have that, then I would consider that concept of just being able to show up when you feel aligned, if that's really going to work for you in the beginning stages, or when it is that you are building or launching or changing niche or really wanting to even grow and expand and scale. So that's what I wanted to speak into today. As I said, I'm sitting here hot, sweaty, really need a shower, post 5-kilometer run, but that is my commitment, is to show up when I feel called to, My conscious Mercury in human design is also gate 51, which is the gate of shock. So I am here to kind of drop that lightning bolt, to wake people up, to think differently, to support them to change what they are doing, maybe how they are thinking. And so my hope for you is that if you have felt a little bit torn about what you hear, what you see out on social media, is that you take a step back and get really clear on what is it that I want and how do I truly believe I need to get there. Is it building a really strong, loyal following and building a community? Is it exposure and visibility? Like, you definitely still need to have a strategy, showing up when you feel like it, because let's be honest, there's not a whole lot of people that really feel like showing up on social media every day. But if you truly want the freedom that being in business for yourself gives you, you are going to need to do things in the beginning and probably still in the middle and maybe forever that you don't necessarily want to do. But when you have the runs on the board, when you have the years under your belt, that is when you have, I guess, reached the level of where you have more choice. So episode 1 of Aligned for 2025 is done as a hot, sweaty mess post-run. I do hope that maybe this has sparked a different way of thinking for you. And I look forward to, who knows when the next episode is coming, what it's going to be about. But what I do know is it will be in response to things that I think need to have a voice. Until then, have a beautiful day, and I will see you on the next episode. That wraps up another episode of Aligned. I'm so grateful you've taken time out of your day to tune in. If today's episode sparked something in you, I'd love it if you would share it with someone else that could also benefit. And if you feel called, I would love it if you would leave a review. A review is like an icy cold glass of Prosecco. Always welcomed, always appreciated. And if we're not yet connected on socials, head over to @KelQuarrell on Instagram and say hello. I love nothing more than connecting with awesome women in business. Until next time, keep tapping into your design, taking bold, aligned action, and doing business your way.